Hi, welcome to another episode of Webcam Sessions. Today we're going to be working on a really cool warm-up exercise that utilizes a lot of different jazz chord voicings. In fact, I think Craig Chi and Sarah Maisel recently did a workshop here on Ukulele Underground, and they taught this exact same sort of warm-up exercise. One of my other students was mentioning it when talking about different warm-up routines, and so I thought I'd work a little bit on the way that I like to do it, just to give you guys another variation on a warm-up routine. So let's go ahead and dive in. We're going to work on how to play it first, and then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the theory for it. So to start here, we're going to play a minor 7 chord in a very specific way. The way that we're going to do this is we're going to play 5 with our index finger on the G string, 7 on the C string with our ring finger, 5 on the E string with our middle finger, and 7 on the A string with our pinky. And when we play this, this is actually an A minor 7 chord. Right? So it should sound something like this. Now the point to this exercise is we're going to move one finger down each time to create a new chord voicing and to get our fingers moving independently of one another. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my ring finger, I'm going to slide it down 1 fret to fret 6. So all the other fingers stay exactly where they are, but just that ring finger is going to slide down 1. Now as soon as you do this, this becomes an F sharp minor 7 flat 5 chord. How about that, right? We don't really need to pay too much attention to the name of a lot of these chords, but F sharp minor 7 flat 5 is the name of this. And so when we move down, we're just moving our ring finger down 1 fret, and you'll notice the ring finger is really difficult to move on its own because of its upward position and it being a finger that feels lower. So you might find yourself trying to move the pinky or moving the middle finger despite you telling with your brain to move the ring. So that alone takes a little bit of practice. And then from here, what we're going to do is we're going to take our pinky finger and move it down. So we're leaving the other fingers where they are. That ring finger is still on the 6th fret, these two still on the 5th, and the pinky is now going to come down to the 6th fret as well. This turns it into a full diminished chord. Sounds something like that, right? So to start, very top again, these two fingers were up, right? 5, 7, 5, 7. Index, ring, middle, pinky on the G, C, E, and A strings. Then we're going to move our ring finger down 1 to 6. And now we're going to move our pinky finger down to 6, right? So those three should sound and look something like this. Now the next step is to take this index finger and move it down 1 fret. By moving this down 1 fret, we're creating what's called a dominant 7 chord. This is a B7 chord, for example. And you'll notice that now we have yet another finger moved individually. Right? That should sound something like this. And then the last motion is to take our middle finger, the only one that hasn't actually moved yet, and move it down 1 fret again. And by moving that finger down 1 fret and no others, you'll notice we're back at the same exact shape that we started on, just with each one of our 4 fingers being down a fret, because we've moved 1 finger each time. Do it 4 times and each finger is moved down. And now at this point we're playing a G sharp minor 7 or A flat minor 7, same thing, but it's the same shape that's now been moved. So to start at the top there, 5, 7, 5, 7. Move the ring finger down, move the pinky down, move the index down, then move the middle. And then you can keep going from there as much as you want. And this is what makes this such a great warm-up exercise. You notice how I mentioned it's great for a routine is you can start as high up on the fretboard as you want. It doesn't actually matter where you start. And you can practice moving 1 finger down at a time just to get really comfortable with these individual motions of the fingers. And you're playing some super complicated, cool jazz chords while doing it. You don't have to worry too much about what the names are if you're just looking for a finger exercise. So to kind of show this, I'm going to go up a little bit higher on the fretboard. I'm going to start on fret 10 with my ring finger and pinky, and I'm going to be here at fret 8 on my G and E strings with my index and middle. So we have 8, 10, 8, 10. And what I'm going to do is play through that chord, move the ring finger down 1, move the pinky down 1, move the index down 1, move the middle down 1. Repeat, move my ring down 1, pinky down 1, index down 1, middle down 1. Then repeat, ring finger, pinky, index, middle. And now I'm back to where we started, and I can keep going down from here if I'd like. Again, just moving that same order of fingers each time. Now you'll notice it feels a little bit like doing this. And the reason is because our fingers are stacked kind of out of order of what we're used to. Normally when we think of a top finger, we think of this one, and we think of a bottom finger, we think of this one. And so it's sort of like if you play a G chord and you try to take off your middle finger, sometimes that's really tough to do. It's just because we think our ring finger is the one that should be down there. So this exercise really helps with those individual motions. What's really fun though is you can also invert it and you can ascend as you go. And you basically just do the exact opposite thing, right? So if we start here at that A minor 7 again, the 5 and 7s, what I can do is then raise up my middle finger, then raise up my index, then my pinky, then my ring, and so on and so forth, right? I'm just flipping it on its axis, doing the exact same motions I did down, now just going up, raising one finger at a time. So if you really want a great exercise for individual finger motions, you can descend all the way down, then ascend all the way back up to get really comfortable with each one of these 4 fingers moving. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the theory with it, and it's kind of neat the way that it works out. If you're trying to learn some of these chords, these 4 finger chords that all contain a 7 in them, this is a really cool exercise because whatever finger just moved is going to be the root of the chord that you're playing. So if you start here and you play these 4 notes, this is an A minor 7. And an A minor 7 has an A, has a C, has a G, an E and a G in it to create the sound of the chord. A, C, E, G is A minor 7. So by moving this one finger down, my ring finger just moved from the G down to an F sharp. And this turns it into an F sharp minor 7 flat 5 chord. And the reason it's called that is because an F sharp minor 7 flat 5 has F sharp, has an A, has a C, and has an E natural. And you'll notice those are the notes that are in here. But what's cool is it's the finger that just moved that's the name of the chord, right? Now if I move the pinky down, this creates a full diminished chord. And this full diminished chord technically has multiple names, but just for the sake of this exercise, we're going to call it a D sharp full diminished. And a D sharp full diminished is going to have this D sharp note here, it's going to have an F sharp note here, it's going to have an A note here, and a C note up here. That creates our D sharp diminished. And now the next thing I'm going to do is move my index finger down. That moves down to a B note and creates what's called a B7 chord. With a B7 chord, it's going to have a B note, it's going to have a D sharp note, F sharp note, and an A note. And as we continue moving down, you'll notice the very next step is I'm going to move down with this finger here. And now we're going to be at what we can call a G sharp minor 7 chord because you'll see that that finger has moved down to a G sharp. And G sharp minor 7, man, we're really getting in here, right? G sharp minor 7 is going to have a G sharp note, it's going to have a B note, it's going to have a D sharp note, and an F sharp note. And as I continue to move down, whatever finger moves down becomes the root or the name of that chord. So as you're working on this, you can keep that in mind if you're trying to identify what the chords are called. I just think it's really neat that whatever finger moves is going to be the root or the name of the chord that you're playing. So it's a lot of music theory there, but if you're interested in jazz theory and everything else, it's stuff that's really applicable to being able to identify chord shapes and movement, and it's just a really kind of fun exercise. So be sure and let me know if you have any questions with this down in the comments below. I think I want to do more with this sort of jazz type of theory and working on chord systems to be able to move. And so if that's something you're interested in, please do let me know down below. I'm thinking about doing some different things in addition to webcam sessions like that. So I want to do what you guys want to be working on. So be sure to let me know if that's something you're interested in. And I hope you guys have some fun with this exercise and start getting some cool jazz chord voicings under your fingers. And again, if you haven't already, be sure and check out Craig and Sarah's awesome stuff at their website right here. They're two of my favorite people in the uke world, and they do some of the coolest stuff around, so be sure and check it out. And I'll see you guys next week for another episode of Webcam Sessions.